Hey guys, I know a lot of you have seen my video of the beer engine that John and I built, and some of you have asked for me to show you how I built it and how exactly I made everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you, make a short video of show you how I've modified my keg to serve it this way, how I carbonate and condition the beer, and then finally I'll show you the hand pump that we built and the sparkler tip and everything else. So here we go, we'll start with the kegs. Here are two kegs. One is marked standard, this is your basic Pepsi keg, and the other one contains the modifications that I've made to use it as a mock cask. Now in the standard keg, as you all pretty much know, your inline runs to a dip tube that collects down at the bottom of your keg. And it's pushed through there by gas coming through your inline. And CO2 comes in here and forces it out the tube. Since we're going to be drawing and replacing with air for the hand pump, what I've done is the inline is actually a dip tube that I've cut short and turned backwards so it sits down near the bottom up against the wall, so that when the keg serves high end down, that will actually sit in an air pocket and it won't draw any beer through it. The inline is actually a smaller line. I've cut another dip tube to go a little bit longer than your standard inline, although I'm sure you can just use the gas line for another keg, but I've opted for the longer one. And what that's going to do is that's going to give me a small pocket underneath here into which the yeast can collect and fall as it conditions. And then as we draw the beer in, it's going to come over the yeast, but it won't pull it in. So we'll actually end up with a fairly clear beer. So one last view inside the keg. There it is. And there's your standard. So it's backwards and cut shorter. Here's a quick comparison. Here's your standard dip tube that goes in, sits down towards the bottom. Here's the one that we have cut and modified to use as the gas. You can see it's cut pretty short. Now this is actually cut a little bit shorter than it needs to be. If I were to do this again, I would probably go down a little bit further. But I cut at a flat angle so it can sit up against the wall, because you want it to get it. You can kind of lay it in and measure it by hand. I actually cut this on the fly with the keg already filled. It was bad planning on my part, but you can do it again. You can set it in there and eyeball it. You could probably get up a little bit higher, but that's just to show you the standard difference of how I did that. Alright, so I filled up the keg and I've got it sitting here, essentially sitting propped up on this end by free weight I have. I've got it set. This is my gas tube here, which remember runs to about here and then angles upward where it's in a pocket. So that's how we're going to serve it, so that's how we'll age it. A few things to say here. One, the reason I've pretty much guaranteed myself an air pocket up here is I've siphoned off 3 liters and put them in liter bottles to take camping. So that took enough out to make sure I have air up here. 2, to lay this down and seal it, I had to seal it with a shot of CO2 from my tank. And because the liquid tube runs into the water, it bubbled. So if you do this and it bubbles, that's fine. And 3, the last thing I've done here is you can see it's sitting on a newspaper that's kind of inside a bag. That's just for any incidental drips that might occur. So essentially I've carbonated it with half an ounce of corn sugar. I'm going to let it sit for a week. Then I'm going to move it the day before I serve it so I can let everything settle. And because it's at an angle like this, all of the yeast from carbonation is going to sit on the bottom under here, under my intake thing. So I'll be drawing over the yeast, but I won't be taking it in. So I'll see you in a week. Okay. So here it is. Here's what it looks like from the outside. Here, actually, if you come here, John, I'll show you. I should have had you come up here closer. Okay. This is a hand pump that we took from we bought from an RV store used for pumping from RVs. This is a sparkler tip made from a a barbed tip, and then a stopper, which we've drilled 9 holes into. And it's going to act as our sparkler tip. Inside, what you can see is, here's our keg. I've got it chilling with just 1 bag of ice on here. The line, you see the barbed tip for the hand pump runs through. That's a thicker line, so we had to shrink it down to the smaller line that goes to the output. We don't have anything on the gas right now because the excess CO2 produced during the secondary fermentation is pushing it out. Once we draw a few pints, we're going to add this onto the gas line just to breathe, to make up for displaced beer. And on this end, you'll see we've got it sitting on a weight the same way we aged it and carbonated it. So all the yeast is still down towards the bottom. And we can draw a pint, we'll see from the sparkler tip. And it's going to give us that nice foamy head. And there you go, there's a pint. It's actually clearer than it looks. That's the slight bit of carbonation spinning around in there, and it'll finish a nice semi-clear golden finish. So hit me up if you guys need any more instructions. That's it.